Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to an exciting, fun-filled episode of Prepper Talk Radio. For those of you joining us on the podcast, make sure that you are hitting that like, give us a follow. Make sure that you're also jumping on over to YouTube, because on YouTube is where all the magic happens. You get to see our pretty faces. And by our pretty faces, I mean Shane and Paris, and then my mug is usually on the screen somewhere. How you guys doing today, guys?
Oh, good.
Good.
It's halfway through the week, so it's almost the weekend.
Right?
I think I do good because of this podcast. Like, I might be having a day that's just one of those days where I want to punch something. And I think today was one of those days that I wanted to punch something. And then I'm like, sweet, I get to talk with my bros about awesome stuff that and just get escape for a minute. This is kind of like
just completely unplug and forget about everything else. And
Yep. So
totally agree.
That's one of my evidences that I'm doing good, is that I'm chatting here with you guys.
Well, it's okay. So I have to bring up this because we're going to jump into the content of what if you could only have one, or if you could only have one, what would you get? Right.
Mm-hmm.
In prepping, we have guns, we have ammo, we have knives, we have bows, we have all the fun stuff there. But I heard a clip from a comedian the other day that was absolutely hilarious that falls into this category. So I'm going to share my best recollected version of what he said, and it was pretty awesome.
In your best voice,
he's in my current voice, but in his the best of my recollection, his words. So he was talking about, only in America do people go shooting for fun, and he's from like Middle East somewhere. I'm not going to say which country because I couldn't tell, and I tried to look him up and find out who this is.
Is his name Borat?
No, but he is hilarious, and he says, he's like, where I grew up, if you're shooting, you're not going, oh yay, someone's having fun, someone died, or it's always bad. And he's like joking about how he went to Vegas with some friends, and they're like, hey, let's go shooting, and he's like, okay, what regime will we topple? No, just for fun. Oh, whose territory will we take over? No, it's just for fun. You mean you shoot for fun? And they're like, yeah, only in America. He's just like, everywhere else in the world, if you're shooting, it's not to connect,
it's to survive,
like, hey,
right?
Welcome to the bachelor party. And I just started laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, he is 100% right. I don't know of another place where people get that amped about that type of hobby, that way of spending time.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have weird things like social axe throwing. Hey, we're gonna go down to the axe club. You want to go throw some axes around?
Well, I'm pretty sure Russia has that too, but probably in a slightly different method, a different way, right? It's maybe not in a retail shopping center.
Yeah, we have some weird things, but with that there being spoken, let's jump right into. Shane, you were the mastermind behind this topic. I think this is kind of exciting. But before we go on, guys, make sure you hit that like and follow on the YouTube, because you will see more.
Yeah, I just thought this. Did I cut you off?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, I just thought this was an interesting exercise. You see videos about this all the time on YouTube and articles and whatnot. And I think it's a little bit of a silly thing to do, because in most cases we can have more than one, because one of our prepper beliefs is one is none and two is one, right? But one is better than none. So, I mean, who knows what the heck, right? So let's just say one is better than none. And if you could only have one, what would it be? So I think it's an interesting thought exercise to go through your decision-making process, and also, deciding on value versus features and options. And rather than just saying, let's just buy the most expensive, buy the best. That's not my criteria, right? That's not why I chose something. But it's from, of course, experience, buying multiple of one thing and then say, these are all crap. This is the one I like best. And then buying something, and then something new comes out, and then you replace it, and so forth. So it's quite a process. And I think that's why I wanted to share it with you. So you can shorten that process of selecting, of choosing things. And most of these are very personal things, right? That take time to learn and to decide for yourself, rather than just take our word on certain things. But I hope this gives you a kickstart on certain things if you don't have something. So let me start off here. I've got right here want to show you this here. This is one of my prized possessions. This is a Wetterlings, and there are others, Grand Force Brooks. There's other brands that are equally good. This is a short forest axe, whatever you might want to call it. It is a Swedish steel, and it is extremely sharp. If I spent some time on this, I could probably shave with it. It's just a very high quality axe. Like I said, it's a short axe. It's not really a felling axe, but it's kind of a multi-purpose axe. So if I were to choose one axe, which I have, I spent a lot of time on this. This took me, I had this on my wish list for many, many years before I actually got this axe. And let me tell you, when it comes to cutting, it's like cutting like a hot knife through butter. It is just absolutely beautiful. It is great, but it is fairly expensive. It's about $150 axe. So you can go get a fairly inexpensive axe for probably, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 bucks for like an S-Wing or something like that, which is a good quality axe. But the Swedish steel makes all the difference in the world. A nice hickory handle. So if I were to only choose one axe, this is what it would be. The Wetterlings, I think it's called the Forest Axe. I don't know. I can't remember exactly. But so very personal. I mean, for what I use it for, this is all I need. I don't need a felling axe. I'm going to use a saw for that, right? Use it for? This is great for making kindling. It's not a good splitting axe, right? That's a totally different tool. Although I could split wood with this. It is a very purposeful axe. I could use it to fall small trees. This is really perfect for limbing larger trees. So you fall in the tree and you just need to limb it, to cut the branches off of it. This is absolutely perfect for that. It can also be used as a tool for bushcrafting as well.
So that's because what I was gonna say. Like,
it's not a huge
bushcrafter's blade.
Exactly. You could use it for bushcrafting. It's not a huge blade, which you'd want something larger for felling. This would take a long time to fall a large tree.
If you're going to
a great all-purpose axe,
3 to 6 inch diameter tree, that's pretty right on.
And here, in Utah, we don't have a lot of huge trees. If you want to fall a pine, most of them are going to be 8-inch diameter, maybe 12-inch, something like that. So this would work. It would take a little longer than a larger axe, but I could limb with it. I can split the smaller 8-inch, 12-inch logs with it. Would be fine. There's better ways to do it, but I think this is a great all-purpose axe. Plus, additionally, it being smaller, it's easier to pack if I have to carry it. I can throw it on my pack, and it's not a huge 36-inch huge axe, just more portable that way, and which means I'm going to more likely to take it with me wherever I go. So,
have you ever watched the lumberjack games?
I have seen some of those. Yeah, those guys, huge.
Those knives. So those guys,
razor
sharp axes. They look like they're about a 9-inch blade face. They're huge. And they're going through like 20-inch to 24-inch trees like so fast. It's absolutely astounding to me. But it's a much bigger axe. They all have typically, I don't think I've ever seen one not using a two-faced,
a double bit
axe.
A double-sided.
The double-sided.
I think it's called double bit. Yeah,
double bit. Thank you. But yeah, those are. See, just as important as that, though, like as soon as you pulled that out, my first thought was, what do you use to sharpen it? Do you have a file and a stone?
I do have a file because I have nicked it. I mean, that never touches the dirt, right? That is precious. That stays away from the dirt. But yeah, a file to take a lot of material off if I need to, and then a stone, a 2-sided stone for rough and smooth to get a really nice edge out of it. And you don't need a razor sharp edge with an axe.
Yeah, you don't need to go crazy with an axe,
right. But it does need to be. Yeah, it does help, and it does need to be sharp. And that takes some practice and to know how to sharpen it. And yeah, most of my other axes, I just use a file on it and not a stone. Right. This I actually use a stone on. The other ones, I'm just using a file to make it smooth. There you go. Exactly, a puck. Yep.
You
haven't even opened it.
I just got this. I know. I was like, I need one of these, and it was on sale. I'm like, done. Bought it.
Yeah.
So when you pulled that out, I'm like, hey.
Yeah, then that's easy to throw in a pack as well. Being round like that. Yeah.
Looks like a hockey puck. It's got 2 sides of finishing your blade. Works on knives. but it's designed ideally, generally, it's designed for axes and saws. That's why I got it, because I'm like, don't have anything for my axe.
Yep.
Exactly. That's hilarious. That was my first thought, and I'm like, oh, it's on my desk still.
Nice. All right, cool. You guys' turn. We're already 10 minutes into this thing. I got a long list here. We better move it.
I didn't know we were going to be pulling everything onto our desks and showing off. No,
I'm not particular. I just grabbed a few things.
So this is my inhaler. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, I would put that first.
Along the lines of that, though, I would say that sorry, Scott, did you want to go?
Nope.
No, I was going to say that I've watched a lot of videos about, tools like what you're talking about, Shane. And I was a little bit hesitant to buy an axe because you can do so many of the same things with a really good survival or /bushcraft knife.
Mm-hmm.
And those knives can be very, what do you call it? Versatile. Versatile. You could get one knife that can do some, you can get some, you could do, I can't remember what it's called, where you put the knife in there and you hammer it with batoning. Yeah. You can baton it, and that's the same thing as splitting with an axe. You can also do kindling, shavings with a good survival bushcraft knife. And so I bought a good knife first, and thinking that I could do that, all those things. A small tree, you could really hack. I mean, it would take you a lot longer.
I think that really depends on the knife as well, because I think a lot of people think, they buy a knife and then they abuse it. And use it for something maybe it's not intended for. There are knives that you can absolutely baton with. I would not baton with this knife. I mean, this is my favorite knife. This is on my list as well. More knife. What is it called? The Garberg. Yeah, and so that's my knife. But yeah, I could baton small sticks with this to make some kindling, kindling, right? Or very simple attacks. But you beat on it, you're going to abuse your knife. So that's why I chose an axe. Because it's what it's meant for. Larger knives, if they're made for batoning, great. But a lot of knives are not made for batoning. You're going to ruin your knife in a short amount of time, especially in a survival situation. But if you got to use it for that, you got to use it for that. So,
so I like the option of a saw personally. I was just about to pull up a picture of one of those. That's the Silky Big Boy, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, you're right. This is the big boy.
The same one I have, and I got that after we had a conversation about 5 or 6 years ago about these, and I started laughing because I'm like, that's exactly the saw I just talked to my brother about. My brother trims trees, so he has one of those in his little.
And they make different sizes as well, right? Much smaller ones. But this is the one I would carry with me. It's bigger. It's still light enough. But if I'm going to cut down a large tree, this is what I'm going to use. I'm not going to use an axe, right? This is what. I'm going to use to process firewood too. A smaller hand saw, that'll get you places. But this is far more utilitarian.
The speed is what I'm so impressed with the most. Like
you're using less energy.
Effort. Yep. And it's funny because I've had one blade snap on me, and the only time it ever snapped was when I let the scouts borrow it, and they were pushing really hard, and they twisted as they're pulling it through, and I'm like, dummies. So I pulled out the other blade. They're like, you have another blade? I'm like, I always have another blade. So I pulled the other blade out, popped it out, and I'm like, I'm going to show you how to cut wood, because none of you know how to cut wood. And we actually did a wood cutting demonstration, and then switched to the hatchet that we had to show them how to split wood. And that because they were going to try to cut down a tree for firewood with a hatchet, and it wasn't to the level of Shane's. So I'm like, this was not even an REI special. It was a Walmart special or Kmart Blue Light. It was a really crappy hatchet that they had.
And unless you've tried that, it's so much energy to use, especially a crappy hatchet or crappy axe to cut down a tree and then cut it into the logs and then split it. A saw is so much better. An axe, a hatchet, and a saw.
And I've had a couple of different brands of saws, and that Silky brand is no joke. Like that's worth getting, spending the extra money. I have a red-handled Silky saw. I don't know if that's a different name or different. Obviously, it's smaller. It's shorter than the one you showed.
It's probably the Professional. So it's a smaller tree trimmer type one. They have them in a red and black handle.
Yeah, the one I have is red, I think, and it just chews through the wood like it's nothing. And I'm just, I was going for it. I was like, wait a minute, I don't even have to put a lot of pressure here. This thing just, I was halfway through the branch before I knew I was even doing anything.
And because they're a pull saw, they're less likely to actually bind when you're pushing it back and breaking or bending your blade, because you're pulling and then pushing it forward. So,
and I love just the simple use of them. I've contemplated getting the katana, which is 50 millimeter blade length.
Huge.
It's huge. And I'm like, then you can really take down some big trees.
I've got the 500 millimeter one as well.
You really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the next size up from the big boy.
Yeah. The katana. That's awesome.
I think the katana is even bigger. I think the katana is
well,
no, it might be the katana that I have.
Well, there's the katana boy.
I think that's what
a larger one than that. There might be
there's a bigger one than that. Yeah, but for this size, that's the one I would take with me for an all purpose, just because it makes more sense. And then the more knife guard, but you see, this is a 4-inch blade, I think is what it is. So maybe a little bit larger. Just very useful for everyday tasks. Again, bushcrafting or cleaning a fish. Again, not very thick, but thick enough to be strong and durable enough. But then also we're talking about. This is my fixed blade choice. I've got a pocket knife, folding knife choice as well.
So there's also the pocket boy, which is a folding saw,
tiny little thing though,
smaller. But the katana boy is the big bad boy. That's awesome, and I love it.
They even have the Zubat, which comes with a sheath, so you're like super like woo, it's like a sword saw.
I'm not going to just slice you. I'm going to cut you deep and fell you like a tree.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that you pulled out your knife, your Mora knife. I use the Craft Pro as my, if I only had to have one, that's the knife. I put that in every one of my survival packs because that is, in my opinion, bargain wise, best blade you can get. It's my favorite camp knife. I've got a Tops knife that's huge and awesome and cool, but I don't use it very often because it's not as comfortable as a Mora knife. Just the grip is just easy.
Yeah, a big knife is not always the right choice, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not to have a big knife. That's why I have the axe and then a more useful knife.
Mm-hmm. And so that I would definitely go on the knife side of things. A Mora knife is fantastic. I mean, for my everyday carry, there's only one type of knife I really go with anymore, and it's Kershaw. I just love the way they feel. The weight in them is better for me, but I'm also a huge fan of Spyderco. I just love their knives.
Yeah, the Kershaw are definitely a little more budget conscious knife, and still a great knife. The Spyderco, I've showed this one off before.
Yep.
This is the one I carry every single day, use it every single day. And
I've had that for years.
I've had it for a long time. So that's my folding knife. If I could only have one.
Right now, my folding knife, and I've had this one for years, and I bought more because I kept using it. But it's a LA Police Gear. We have a link in the description below for it if you want to go check it out. But they have a rescue knife, so you have the opportunity on the end here. If you're looking on the video, they can
right in front of your face.
Yeah, right in front of my face. You could break the window with this point here, and it's got another thing here to cut a seatbelt, and then it has a blade here, and then it's got a sharp blade, and then it's got the serrated part of it down here. So it really kind of gives you everything you need for a rescue knife all in one. I like the opportunity for a rescue knife. I never have had to use it, thankfully, so I don't plan to use it, but it's good to have. That if I need to cut my seatbelt, I got this opportunity. If I need to pop my window, I got it. And that's like it's like a multi-tool EDC, switchblade, or not switchblade, but foldable blade.
Nice.
Yeah, rather than having a tool floating around in your car somewhere that you might not find if you're in a wreck, it's always on you right there. You got it. Break your window, cut your seatbelt if you need be, and escape. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. Great tool. All right, I can lead with the next one, of course.
Go ahead.
The Phoenix TK16. This is my Apocalypse light. It is 3,100 lumens, but it has a bunch of different settings as well. It's also rechargeable and it's tactical. So it's got a nice tactical switch on here, which is just briefly turn it on and off. It's called it's an intermittent switch, and then the different light settings. So being rechargeable, it's got the kind of attack bezel, or I say the defensive bezel, so you can use it for striking. It's just a killer flashlight, and I don't carry it with me every day. It's a little too big for an EDC one, but if I were to choose only one, it'd be this one. I can charge it with a solar panel. Just something that Phoenix has proven their brand to me over the years. I just love Phoenix.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny because like when it goes to lights, like I'm always changing my lights, and it's
I change
because
often too.
I do so many different things. Like I am still like I don't think I can ever be changed from headlamps. I hate having to hold a light in my hand
or your mouth.
Oh, that's a good point.
I want my hands free, right? And I don't want to be restricted in my breathing. I don't want to be spitting all over my light, right? Yeah, you can clip it to your hat. That's great. But if you're not wearing a hat, you got to put it in your mouth. Or if you've got large nostrils like myself, you got to shove it up your nose.
Whoa.
And those of you who haven't been watching this and are listening to this, you've got to watch. You got to head over to our YouTube because you miss little things like this. I'm the big hairy ape of the group. Like I've got larger nostrils, a larger belly. Like
and they both have a better beard than I do.
Well,
much better beard. I'll just keep mine short. That's the only way it looks half decent.
I use mine to hide
a much better beard, ability to grow out a beard than I do.
I grow it long. I have a long. I comb over my patches, so that's why I grow it long.
So yours
got the comb over beard.
Comb over beard.
Yeah.
Mine is the fat foil.
Like, okay, so Scott wins the beard.
Fat.
Scott wins the beard contest.
That's awesome.
I have the thick. I trim it low because otherwise it'll come up on my high cheekbones, and yeah, I could be a Sasquatch.
You'll be a good Santa someday, there, Scott. When you turn more white, there, you're starting to get some grays in there.
Well, I'm learning a lot more about Phoenix from you, Shane, especially some of the review videos that you've done on our channel. Which, by the way, I highly recommend people go check out those review videos on our channel, and pick up a Phoenix light. I did a review, at least I think I did. I maybe I linked my light, and it's a ThruNite, ThruNite, and that light has helped. It's kind of saved my butt. Actually, I used that light one time when I had a guy who was high as a kite come knocking on my back door looking for his dealer, and I opened my back door and I grabbed that light and bam, 1,000 lumens right in his face or whatever it is. I hit the max lumens on that thing, and the guy was just totally disoriented. Backed away, and I was able to get him to the front yard and call the police and get him, taken. He got hauled off. So, sometimes it's, it may not be there's so many brands out there. Pick one that works for you and one that you like, one that's affordable and it has this things that you need and that will do the job. At the end of the day, a flashlight, you want to have a flashlight that's tactical, that's hard in case you need to use it as a tool. But you also want to have a flashlight that's bright, like it has different levels where you can have like a reading light, very, very low, or you can have one of those, bam, just,
defensive
light in their face. So get one that's going to do that. My choice was ThruNite. The one that I have right now is, I think, out. They have a new updated version of it, but I think the updated version of the one I have is I can't remember the name of it. It's ThruNite TN12 or something like that.
Anyway. That's a good brand. There's a lot of good, like you said, there's a lot of really good brands out there.
So I've got this is the light that I ruined my last camera on. My last on a last podcast. You guys remember that?
That's right. Yeah, you've shown it into your camera.
LED flashlight. It's 90,000 lumens. And it is, my parents got it for me for Christmas for our family, and I don't let my kids go near it because one of them was blind. It melted my windbreaker. I was playing with it, and I was like, "Oh, there's someone driving by," so I put it to my stomach, not paying attention, and I was like, "Oh, that's warm," and I pulled it away, and I looked down, and everything is sticking to the face of the of the light. And
I think even 9,000 lumens would probably do that. 90,000 is pretty insane.
Way out there.
It's way too bright. And so I never use it, but I keep it. I've ruined a coat and a webcam. It's insane. But I don't know. I like I'm a headlamp guy. I've done a couple of reviews. If you guys jump onto our Amazon link on my TikTok, you'll see there's a few videos I've done. I do headlamps like crazy. I've got
I agree. I like headlamps a
types of
lot.
them. I've got the broad light ones are great for working on things close up.
You just can't hit anybody with the headlamp, right?
Well, you can headbutt people, and that's pretty hard.
But you want to headbutt up here, right? Where you want to headbutt.
See, the light shows you where to go until you get close enough, and then you just top a head.
Pop them.
All right, cool.
Someone will be knocked out, either you or them.
So, wonder if we want to get to the firearms yet, or are we going to save that for last?
I've been waiting for that one because I'm struggling so much picking a single
absolutely
long gun.
That is one of the hardest practices, thought experiments I've had to go through. Is what is the right single purpose? Now, there's pistol and there's rifle. I've got two different selections, not just one gun, because handguns are not adequate. I'd have to choose a rifle. That would have to be my go-to. So I kind of broke this down for me into a pistol or a rifle.
Okay, let's start with rifle, because that's where I'm like torn, and maybe listeners can give us comments in the comments below and let us know kind of your thoughts, because on the long gun, I used to be all about I'm gonna have an AR, I'm gonna have a couple ARs, and I've got a couple ARs. I've also got a nice 308. I love that 308. It's a good hunting rifle. But the more and longer I go in life, the more I'm leaning back to heritage and root firearms. I really want to go the lever action 30-30. And it keeps coming back to me like that. And I need to go shooting again because the ones I tried, I loved. And to me, it seems like a simpler mechanism, easier to maintain firearm for rifle purposes. And it's really, it's geared for medium to large animals and some other things.
It was the AR of its day because the higher rate of fire over, say, a bolt gun or whatever they had in the day. But yeah, you can borrow my Marlin. I have a Marlin 336 Dark, 16-inch barrel, and it's a blast to shoot.
So I'm leaning towards the Henry lever action 30-30 side gate, and there's a brass version as well. That's really beautiful.
Golden Boy.
Yep.
Does it have a cartridge for more rounds?
No,
it has a tube.
It's a tube. Okay. So I think it's I don't even remember how many shots.
See, mine only holds 5. So that's and I love the 30-30. It's a very versatile. It's a great truck gun, right? It's a good defensive gun. It's a great hunting gun. The 30-30 is only good for 200 to 300 yards.
That's reaching too.
Yeah.
It's ideal at 100 yards.
But at a 30 caliber, it does have good knockdown power. Not as much as the 308, but it's a lower capacity for me. So
that's where I'm struggling.
But it is a fun rifle.
Because I look at things when they go sideways, like, the number one killer is going to be? It's going to be the lack of understanding local medicines and what you can do to fix things, and the lack of food. Those are going to be the 2 fastest killers. And so the new cartels, the new gangs, stuff like that, like they're going to start coming around eventually. But I've got enough food storage; I can outlive most of those guys. Right?
Yep.
And I'm just talking about this stuff right here.
Right.
Well, and you might have to defend that food as well. So that's why for the rifle, my go-to would be an AR-15. That's
where I get stuck because I've got the AR-15s, but I'm like, you got to have tools for the AR-15s. And if I'm ever separated from my tools, I can't fix my AR-15s. I can't maintain my AR-15s.
They are a little bit more, require a little bit higher maintenance.
Out of the rifles that I own, my AR-15s, they're the high maintenance girlfriend. That's really what they are.
Got to keep them clean. Got to keep them lubed.
I retract my example.
This could go a very different direction right now.
Yeah, after I said that, I'm like, okay, where's he going to go with this?
You gotta keep them. Okay, so let me
leaning to AK-47s now.
I would definitely stick with that. Like I'm with Shane on the AR-15. It's just the versatility of an AR-15, especially an AR-15 that can shoot 5.56. because you don't want to have just the ones that only shoot the 223, because you're not going to get the opportunity to use it if you need to for hunting, because it can still take down small game, small deer, stuff like that. So you're able to use it for defense and for a little bit of hunting, especially if you've got that better bullet.
I think for the AR-15 itself, if it's designated an AR-15, it does shoot 5.56.
Yeah.
So
You gotta
there
have the right
are other rifle platforms that will only shoot the 223, like a bolt rifle or whatever. But I think the AR-15 platform itself is a 5.56 platform, which you can shoot the 223, of course.
Well, you got to have the right upper for that, though. Like, you can buy uppers that are only 223.
I assume you probably could. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
the
can.
AR-15 is a
Typical
multi-caliber platform.
Yeah.
Mhm. So just make sure you get the upper that has
AR-15s are
both.
going to be the 5.56.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've got plenty of 223 and 5.56 ammo, and I'm leaning towards. Oh man, it's so hard because like, which gun do we have the most fun with? I'm really leaning towards an AK-47 with a 5.56 barrel. And who's to blame for that, right?
No.
We've had him on a number of times. He's a Green Beret.
Well, yeah, Jeff Pedersen, but
Not Pedersen.
not Jeff Pedersen. That's another friend I know, Jeff Kirkham.
Kirkham.
Yeah, I mean he's an AK. He's an AK guy, but
I love that guy, and he's
yes.
totally messed my brain, my thought process on this.
He
Because
hates
I've been
AR-15s.
going back and forth for 3 years on this.
Yeah, he hates AR-15s. He would argue with us all day long because he's used them in real world, right? He's been in what the sandbox, right? And they just don't function when they get dirty with sand in particular. And so that's why he loves the AK-47. And plus, it's a bigger round. It's going to have more power, more knockdown power. The reason I like the 5.56 is, we're not, we might find ourselves in dirty conditions, but it's obviously we're not in the desert like over there in the Middle East. But I can carry more ammo because it's lighter weight compared to like a 30-30. The cost is lower to shoot. I can train more with it. And as Jeff also says, Jeff Kirkham also says, it's about holes. It's about putting holes in your in your target. We'll put it that way. And so a larger round isn't necessarily, it has more stopping power, right? But it's not always about stopping power. It's about if you put a hole in someone, it takes two people out of the fight, right? You kill somebody in battle, and that's what we're talking about. Is in war in particular. And it takes just the one person out of the fight. So by putting holes in someone, which the 2.23, the 5.56, that's a 22 caliber. It's a small hole, but it's moving. It's cooking 3,000 feet per second or so. And so that's why I like the AR-15.
They'll most likely live through it, unless it's a death shot, right? And then the medic's got to help them. That's why you say you can take out two people. So yeah, this is the conversation that I'm like, I'm not on the fence, but I'm like between a rock and a hard place, trying to figure out which is the best for me.
And you'll change your mind in a year or two. And I probably will too.
I'm still, my AR-15 or AR-15s are my solution right now, but for my long gun. But I'm like, because I've got other things. Well, I did until the boat accident. I lost everything. Yeah. Swimming and fishing at the same time with all of your guns is just a bad idea, guys. Don't do it. Lost everything I had.
But yeah, another thing about the AR-15 is that it just provides a higher rate of fire and more capacity than say a Henry lever rifle. Not necessarily, obviously not an AK, but and plus just ability to the commonality with other AR. So there's so many AR-15s out. There's a lot of AK-47s as well. So that's kind of a moot argument as well.
Yeah.
But I think for me it's more ergonomic to shoot the AR-15 than an AK. So there's just a lot of reasons. But like I said, I'll probably change my mind down the road.
Yeah, the AR is much more comfortable to fire. AK is less comfortable. Also, it has larger recoil. Everything about it it's requires a little more strength and finesse to really get everything out of it. But it's also it's just so easy to maintain. That's the thing that I just can't get over, how easy it is to strip it down, clean it, fix it, put it all back together. Boom. Yeah. It's so It's fascinating, and I got geeked out on that aspect of it before we talked to Jeff Kirkham about rifles and his selections, and I saw a video of a Russian high school, and kids were field stripping.
Part of their class, yeah.
Part of the class, part of the curriculum in this program, and it was one rifle, and they set it on the table, and everybody goes through, and they time each person as they go through, and then you had to go to the back of the class. It's like playing. We play, what is it, 22 basketball or knockout. You go up, and the person behind you is trying to shoot and beat your score, but like you field strip it, put it back together, and then the next person goes. You go back to the back of the line, and as soon as someone messes up, they're out. And they're playing a game with this, and I'm like, these kids are good.
Yeah, and with the AR-15, it's pretty easy to service and take apart as well, and that's another thing.
If you have the tools, this didn't have any tools, and that's why I'm like, interesting.
I guess depends on how far you break it down, right?
True,
but yeah, but another option, real quick. I've got a bolt action scout rifle, the Ruger Gunsight Scout in 5.56, so that would be another great option as well. Much more, all you have is your bolt action, your trigger, and that would be a really great option as well. Just a lower rate of fire, obviously, than AR-15. So, but I think you're right, Scott. What we're going to be facing is looters and gangs and such. I think that's a big part about it. And that's another reason why, if I'm holed up at home, I've got all my tools, I got all my ability to clean the weapons and keep them functioning properly, and spare parts and such. Now, if I'm going to go off on foot, I might choose something else, right? I might take that Gunsight Scout with me instead.
Well, I think if you're off on foot, you're mostly going to stick to wooded areas, less populated areas anyways. So, having a high rate of fire may be overkill. You might be packing an extra 20 pounds of stuff you don't need, but then also I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And so that's the argument back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
My brain.
Yeah, exactly.
Hence the topic. If you could only pick one, which one?
Exactly.
So
and
right
that's
now,
why, yeah,
it's my AR-15. Like that's,
yeah.
Because even if I'm a bad shot, I've got 30 opportunities unless I live in California.
And in an urban area, I think that's a better choice than a bolt action or such. But
and a lot of people will say, "Well, what about a shotgun?" And I'm like, your range is so short that it's like, and your capacity is so small that it loses its sexiness that the movies give it real fast.
Yep, and you got to carry. If you even want to consider it as a hunting opportunity, you got to have slugs, and those are heavy.
Yeah, they're all heavy. You just can't carry as many rounds with you because the heaviness and the bulkiness.
Very limited option.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move into the handguns.
Okay, absolutely.
I know you've moved around a lot lately.
I have
settled into some pretty sweet stuff.
I have been experimenting and practicing and learning, and I thought I had made up my mind a while back and completely changed it. But recently, I've tried a few other platforms. And I think Paris had nailed it right off the bat here. So you want to share, Paris, what your go-to handgun is?
So I did quite a bit of research. I went to several gun places and I shot as many guns as they would have let me rent, and just found what felt really good in my hand. And then,
and you could shoot well,
and that I could shoot, reasonably well.
That's comfortable, but I can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Well, if it fits in your hand, you're going to have a higher likelihood that you will hit the right thing at the right place.
I totally agree with that. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah. So, anyways, I deserve it probably.
No, my joke is simply that you're probably not pointing at the barn is the problem. So
yeah, I really liked the Glock. I really liked the Glock because it was just all the reviews on Glocks are about how the versatility of that gun and that brand. And just, you could pick it up out of a river after a month and still shoot it and be good
after a year, after a decade,
or whatever. It's just one of those guns, like what Scott's concern is about, being able to keep it maintained and maintenance, and Glocks just basically just keep going. They're tanks,
whether you clean them or not. Yep.
Yeah, so I chose a Glock, and then I liked the 17 because it was a really big gun, but then I realized I wanted to do concealed carry at some point, and so the Glock 19 is where I went. I went with a Glock 19, and I got Gen 4. And I like it a lot, and it feels good in my hand. And So we're gonna see. I'm gonna take my daughter and my wife to shooting pretty soon. We're gonna see what they want. They might get the 43 or a little smaller one, but
43X. 43X.
We'll check into that one for sure.
That
Have
thing
them shoot it.
The thing is awesome.
So Shane, what were you showing us there? That was the.
So I was showing this is the 17. There's the Glock 17.
There you go.
Nice.
Full size barrel, 4.5 inch barrel, full size grip. Glock 19, shorter barrel, shorter grip, so better for concealability. So this is my everyday carry, is the Glock 19. My more of a combat gun is the Glock 17. But I also picked up a Walther PDP and a CZ SP01.
Holy smokes! You got an arsenal going on, dude.
You're gonna need another belt.
And I've got more on my list. So as you can see, I've more recently I've sold some other guns. So this is not just adding to my collection. This is replacing.
So in the apocalypse, we'll be able to identify Shane because he'll have
he'll have multiple.
He'll have one handgun on a chest rig, one on each hip, one on each thigh, and then you won't see these until he pulls up his pant leg, but he'll have 2 ankle boot straps with revolvers. So
and then several in the nape of his back, And
then watch out. You won't even know about that one.
So like you, Paris, I think the Glock 19 is the way to go. However, my close contender is the CZ. This is a double action, single action, so it has a hammer and it has a long trigger pull, just like a revolver. So it has that, again, the safe position there, and then the long trigger pull. So it doesn't have a safety like a Glock doesn't have a safety. This is an all metal gun. It's all aluminum. It's actually one of the few guns that have been approved by NATO. This went through their testing, 7 failures in 15,000 rounds.
Wow.
So this is very well proven handgun. It's made in Czechoslovakia. So just as good a heritage as a Glock, if not more so. So I would probably go with the CZ. These are both a compact size. The Glock's a little bit lighter, but a little bit longer barrel. This is just a bomb-proof gun. And so that's what I'm choosing for now. Maybe it might be the Glock tomorrow. But that I think basically something that is proven, and the Glock is absolutely proven in combat and in all kinds, and in sand and dirt, it will fire. The CZ maybe not as well. I haven't tested it. I'm not going to test it that way. but and then the Walther is fantastic as well. But just and the Walther has a long heritage as well. But the Glock, you just can't go wrong. I think with the Glock, it has a lot of people say it has a terrible trigger. I don't know if I totally agree with that, because it's about what you learn, what you grow up with, right? If you grew up with a Glock trigger, you don't know anything different, right? You go shoot a Walther with its fantastic trigger, which it has a really nice trigger, then you might say, okay, I think I like this trigger better. But there's nothing wrong with this trigger if you learn to use it and train with it. So yeah, the Glock, absolutely.
So I went so long shooting with the Ruger that when I switched over, it was hard for me to try to shoot a Glock, because the trigger pull is so different. And I'm off every shot. I'm off a couple inches and then down a little bit. And so it took a lot of time in the range to get sort of good. And then I tried an M&P 9mm with an Apex trigger, and I was
M&P is great.
I'm like, done. My learning curve for my finger to adjust to that trigger with the recoil in that gun and everything, I was just like, holy crap, this is like it was made for me.
That's so cool.
And I shot so much better with that gun. That's my favorite handgun. But again, I've only shot, I think it was the Glock 20,
40 caliber.
Yeah, and that's what my brother has, and so I've shot that, and I'm like, I was never a big fan of it, but it went through.
I wasn't previous either. I wasn't a big fan of Glock either before.
So it was fun to see you now be a big proponent of Glock, and it was just like, maybe I need to rethink this. I have to recover from that boating accident and start getting some pew-pews again. But yeah, I think the key thing here is look for reliability, brands that have been around for a long time. Look for things that you, as Paris started with, things that feel comfortable.
Go to the range, shoot as many as you can, just like Paris did. Absolutely, that's the right way to do it.
Go to the range, rent the guns. I don't know of a single range I've gone to that doesn't have rentals. So you can try out just about everything. And what's great is like when I took my wife, we tried probably 16, 17 different pistols for her. I tried 5 and I was like, nope, this is it. And she's like, how did you pick that so fast? I'm like, well, I've shot all the other ones before at different times. And these ones, it made the most sense. And I'm like, number one was the size of the grip. A lot of them, when you start going compact or subcompact, those areas, it doesn't fit my full hand, my big meat cleavers. And so you have to find what works the best for you. And she has slender hands, doesn't have 10-inch palms, so she's okay. She can get the smaller. They're not really 10 inches, but she can get something that's smaller and makes more sense. And what's funny is I really like the choices that she made. What she ended up with, they're very comfortable. But you have to do what makes the most sense for you.
And something for the ladies too. One thing to really consider as you're shooting smaller sized guns is that the smaller the size, the smaller the lower the weight and the harder the recoil. And so try to get a gun that's as big as you can get, because it's going to weigh more and it's going to recoil less. When I was in my class, one of the ladies had a smaller gun. She was shooting it and she was kind of all over the place with it. And then the instructor said, look, you ought to try a little heavier gun, and see if that fits better in your hand. And she tried the heavier gun and was nailing it. And she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think this bigger gun would fit my hand as well, but I can shoot with so much more better accuracy with that. And so just remember that, when a gun pulls you back, that recoil, that pops that barrel up, you got to be able to control that. And if you can't control it, or if it's a little too light, because a 9mm shooting through a 1 or 2 pound gun versus a 9mm for 3 or 4 pound gun, it's still a 9mm. And the 3 or 4 pound gun is going to, wherever, I don't know how many pounds guns are, but the little heavier gun is going to keep it in place a little better.
Yeah, you're about 28 ounces, I think, on the Glock 19.
Okay. So my wife ended up choosing the P238 by 6 Hour.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit heavier for that size.
All metal gun.
Fantastic. She loves it. I love it, and I borrow it sometimes.
Nice.
But you have to, I think at the end of the day, if you're going to pick one, pick the one that I would say comfortable, that you're the most accurate with, and that you're most comfortable, not just in the grip, but also most comfortable taking it apart and maintaining it.
The one you've trained with the most too is
critical. And then just train with that thing so that it's just becomes part of your DNA, right? Your DNA just becomes part of you, and you get used to it. And that's where I need to get back into it and start doing that more, because I am rusty in those areas. But man, this is a topic we could go on forever, guys. Listeners, make sure you guys are following us on YouTube. Make sure you're in our Facebook group, Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance. Go to Prepper Talk Radio. Follow us on every platform. We're out there. We are podcasting across them all, so make sure you tune in every week. And we're going to sign off because we're going to go join our live event weekly at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We go live on Wednesdays. So until the next episode, stay ready.
See ya.
Take care, guys.